Hello, everybody. Brian Sperber here for the Profile Show on Throttle and Rust, where we get to talk to interesting people doing cool things. And I'm joined today by the founder of the Farm Games, Cody Cooper. Cody, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I just learned about the farm games not long ago, and it sounds like a really cool sports property that blends fitness and farm lifestyle. And we're really excited to learn more about that. And before we get into it, though, really interested in kind of your background in fitness and farming, and kind of tell us how we got here.
Yeah, it's kind of been a little bit of a journey. Um, Unplanned, kind of the best ones end up that way. But I started in fitness about 20 years ago. I started in personal training years ago, and then evolved into opening my own studios. I had some strength training and kickboxing studios down in Charleston, and I had a few there. And I was opening up here in Charlotte. And a couple years ago, decided to sell that business. I sold all my studios and rolled that over into a farm property right outside of Charlotte in Fort Mill here, and bought this property kind of with the intention of being able to incorporate my fitness passion along with my farming passion as well. I grew up on a farm and wanted to get my family back into that kind of lifestyle, raise my kids that way, and so I developed the property a little bit, put in a pickleball court, basketball court, big outdoor turf space, and decided to open it up to the community. We decided to run our farm as an event venue, so events specializing in fitness. So we'll do a variety of different style classes a couple times a month. It's nothing on a regular basis or anything like that. It's just a few times, and we'll do our Farm Strong boot camp class, and then we also do a High Rocks training camp as well. But then we also do a lot of private events in between that, so people can rent out the venue to do a lot of different styles of things. They can rent out just the pickleball, whatever they want. But we typically always incorporate some style of fitness into the events that we do. And then after the workouts, we follow that up with a social hour, and we'll do a sauna and cold plunge session. We have a 10-person sauna, about four cold plunges. And then after that, we do a little bit of a farm tour and introduce everybody to the animals. People come, they get to feed the cows. We have Dexter cattle and Scottish Highlands, which everyone comes for, the big fluffy cows. And then we have goats and chickens and everything as well. So in a big garden. So yeah, we operate as a farm, but on the side, we have an event venue that we specialize in fitness. And last year, at the end of the season, it was our first full season. I decided I want to lean into the farming a little bit more with the fitness and incorporate the farming and ranching lifestyle that we try to celebrate into some sort of an event. So came up with a few ideas, a few of the events like a timber lift instead of a deadlift, and lifting a tree trunk instead of that, and pushing wheelbarrows and pulling tractors. And I had a few ideas like that, and then I decided, let's put out an application. It was just a concept at that point. Didn't really have a huge plan of what it was going to be. Um, but then I got a ton of interest. What I thought was going to be just our local community here ended up being applications coming in from around the country.
Oh, wow.
So I started getting those applications in, and when that happened, I was like, all right, maybe I'm onto something a little bit bigger than what I thought it was going to be. And at that point, I said, I guess I got to take it a little bit more seriously, and it lit a fire under my ass. And sorry if we're not allowed to cuss on here.
It's all right.
It lit a little bit of a fire, and I decided to go ahead and go all in on this and put together a really cool event. And that's how the Farm Games was born.
That's really awesome. And so I would imagine it's for the competitors and participants, it's a heck of a lot more fun being outside and being on a farm versus being in a gym or some kind of indoor environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the big things and why people are interested and people are drawn to this type of environment. I mean, the whole agricultural side of things is really kind of grown in the country. There's something I think hardwired in everybody that draws you to that. It's kind of primitive to all of us, but it's been something really unique to see the younger generation being drawn to it as well. And it's really cool to see.
Now, the folks that are participating, are they, professional athletes, or are they just, people that are just kind of interested in being outside and getting a workout?
Yeah, so for the farm games, it's a big mix. And there's intention behind that. So one of the things I pride the farm games in is the diversity that we get for athletes. So we'll get athletes from a lot of different backgrounds because of its unique style. There's no one person, there's no one style of athlete that specializes in this type of competition. Um, I like to think as a farmer, I specialize in it, but it's different for most people. So the uh, the the athletes that come out will get, high level CrossFit athletes, strongman competitors, um, hybrid endurance athletes, and then just, good old country boys that want to come out and test their abilities against some of the more elite athletes. So it's a great mix of people, and that's one of the things that athletes love about it is they're competing, and when they go through this event, they're going through with a group through each event. So it's not all in it. You're doing individual events, but you're doing it with, we call them pods. You're in a pod of say 10 athletes together. You go through that event together, then you rotate to the next one. But during that time, you're supporting each other, like you're rooting each other on, you're helping each other out, you're competitors, but a camaraderie builds. And to do that with athletes of very different backgrounds is really cool to see. High rocks athletes, CrossFitters, strongman, they're usually in their own lane. And this allows them to come together kind of in this unique setting that everyone is new to. So it creates a bond that you don't see in most competitions.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And so you've launched the farm games, and this is the first year, as I understand it, that the events are now up and running, and there's more than one.
Yeah, so we started last October was the first event I did here on my farm, and it was meant to be just a one-off event. It was going to be something that we just did to celebrate the year. Maybe we would do it at the end of each year to kind of wrap up the season here on my farm. But after the event, the feedback that I got from athletes was incredible. I mean, some athletes that travel the world doing, high-end competitions, gave feedback that told me that it was something that more athletes would be interested in. And then I started getting messages online from people all over the country who wish they'd compete. They wish they would be able to compete, but they couldn't because of travel or, work, whatever it was. So they started asking, when the next one was going to be, or if I was going to bring it to their area. And at that point, I was like, well, maybe that's a good idea. The questions started getting the wheels turning, and I adjusted some things to be able to make it something that I could take on the road, something that I could fit all the equipment in one big trailer. So I tested a few markets and put the word out to a few people, and it sounded like it was some people were going to be interested in. So I said, let's do it. Let's give it a shot. So I chose Austin as our first regional event to pilot, and it was a huge hit. We got, right out the gate, we had some great sponsors who were interested in being a part of it as well, which has been part of what's made this possible. I mean, our sponsors have been incredible, kind of taking a risk on an event that no one's heard of before. But they also see the uniqueness around it and the ability to get some really good content around fitness in a very unique way that's on a farm or a ranch. So I did our first one down in Austin a couple months ago, and we had about 70 athletes competing there. And then in 2 weeks, I'll have our Nashville regional. We have 80 athletes registered for that one. And then following that, on September 12th, we'll do our Denver regional. And then October, back here on my farm again.
That's awesome. Now, if somebody wants to be a participant, how do they go about learning more and registering?
Most people learn everything about our farm games through social media. So we do quite a bit of content that we'll put on Instagram. So if anyone wants to learn more about it, going to our Instagram is the best way.
And how would they find it? What's the handle?
Just the farm games. So
Okay.
at the _farm_games, but just type in the farm games, you'll find us. And then the farm is Carolina Fitness Farm, and my own personal handle is Cody.fitfarmer. So all those accounts are connected on Instagram, but there's a lot of content on there for people to be able to really get a better idea of what the events are and how the flow of the event goes, and get a better understanding of it. And through there is all the applications as well.
Wow, that sounds really fun. And I guess big picture, Cody, where do you want to take all of this?
It's still up in the air. It's we got to get through this year, get a big, get a good foundation established, get more feedback from athletes and get more feedback from sponsors, and see how we can improve upon it. And then I'll build a little bit of team around it as well to make sure that it can stay sustainable. But yeah, I want to grow it. Each event, I want to make them a little bit bigger. Right now I'm keeping it a little bit easier to manage with 70 to 80 athletes, and then in only one division. We don't do intermediate and pro division or anything like that yet. But next year, that's the plan, is to do possibly a 2-day event half the event with intermediate and pros in the first day, and then the second day doing the finals for that competition as well. So yeah, so I want to go bigger with it instead of 80, maybe do 150 athletes in one weekend instead of in one day.
Are there any markets out there that you're not going to now that you got your eye on for the
Yeah,
future?
so we're a little bit limited because I haul my rig wherever we go. All the equipment is, I have a 25-foot tree trunk that I have specially designed and created for this that I have to haul around. It's not easy to rent one of those in a market someplace. So yeah, I've got my rig that I have to bring. So West Coast is not on the radar yet. Denver is as far as I'm driving, and Austin. Those are good hauls, but no, I want to go a little bit more in the Midwest. I'm looking at that. I'm from originally from upstate New York, so I want to bring one of the competitions back home, hit the Northeast, and then down in Florida. So a few of the maybe three more events next year at most. But really, the goal is not extend it and do a ton of events in different markets, but pick maybe seven markets that are strategically located where I can do them a little bit bigger, and just get more people into those events.
Sounds great. And
Yeah.
before I let you go, on Throttle and Russ, we talk a lot about racing. And when I met you, we learned that you grew up not far from Watkins Glen,
That's right.
racetrack that's near and dear to my heart. So, did you ever follow any racing? Did you ever have a favorite driver when you were growing up, or you
Oh,
didn't?
I mean, I think, yeah, if you look at with my generation, I think Earnhardt is an easy answer. Yeah, I always love watching. I didn't follow it like I did other sports. I played sports growing up. But yeah, being a country boy from Western New York, NASCAR was always on where we were, and we always rooted for Earnhardt. And yeah, it was Watkins Glen was an amazing track out there. So yeah, I've been out there a couple times and had some fun at that track.
Well, good. Well, you don't live too far from Charlotte and Rockingham, so
Yep.
you're right now in the heart of
Yeah, we're
NASCAR
neighbors.
country. So
That's right.
have to get together for an event. But
Absolutely. I'd love
thanks,
to.
yeah, thanks so much, Cody, for joining us here on the show, and we really appreciate it. And I can't wait to get out to the farm and lift some of those tree trunks. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. We'll get you out here.
All righty, sounds good. Cody Cooper from the Farm Games, and you can check us out, and we'll have all his social links too in our post. So look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, Cody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.